So welcome back, welcome back. We're glad to be here. We got word today that our primary venue for next year will be open to capacity for our October season opener. I've told the musicians that we owe Beaufort a Beethoven 6, so. We also have young artist Francis Tsai, the violinist, high school student who won the concerto competition in Hilton Head, and he's going to come and play the Bruch G minor concerto. We have various other treats planned for you. So we'll actually have winds and brass and go maskless and, oh, it sounds almost normal, doesn't it? Or who was I speaking with? And I think it was you. We decided this is the fabric of life. So we'll get rid of this fabric for the fabric of life. Those of you who've seen that movie Amadeus, it starts off with the scene of Salieri in the mental institution. All these people are screaming. A guy runs by with no clothes on. You can show it to little kids. You have to get parents' permission. Am I talking into this enough? Can you hear me? You have to get parents' permission to show little kids because there's nudity. And the priest comes in to give him absolution or something. And Salieri is in there, and he's saying, I was a very successful composer, you know. People liked my work. It was so well received. Maybe you've heard of some of my stuff. And he plays something, and the priest is shaking his head, going, no, I'm sorry, I haven't heard that. He played, this one was very, very successful in its debut. And he played another tune, and the priest was like, no, I'm sorry, I don't recognize it. And then he said, oh, wait, maybe you know this. And he plays, beam, bum, 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 bum. And the priest goes, oh, yes, I do. I know that one. He starts singing the second phrase of it. How delightful. I didn't know you wrote it. He said, I didn't. So Mozart wrote eine kleine Nachtmusik, a little night music, as entertainment music. It wasn't meant to be highbrow, serious music. In fact, a lot of Mozart's music was not supposed to be highbrow, serious music. He wrote it for parties. He wrote it for fun. And when the prince didn't like it, he wrote it for the opera bouffe. Because he was a pretty jocular guy. If you read his letters, he had a pretty bawdy sense of humor, actually. It'd make some of you blush, actually. He was a character. But I think, I was thinking of catchy tunes, and I thought, that's a catchy tune. That kind of defines a catchy tune. This next one isn't so much a catchy tune as a memorable melody. It's catchy, but it's a memorable melody, written in, I think, 1938. Shostakovich and Schoenberg were sort of diametrically opposed. Schoenberg thought, if the music has popular appeal, it can't be a masterwork. And his music sounded like that, actually. I mean, he was very serious business. And Shostakovich was the exact opposite opinion, where he felt like you could write something that had tremendous popular appeal, and it would still be very serious artwork. And he set about his whole career pretty much to prove that idea. And I think probably right now Shostakovich gets more listens than Schoenberg. And I teach an IB music class at St. Andrew's School, and so we play them all kinds of different music. And when I put 12-tone music on, these kids go, are we supposed to like it, Mr. Devyatkin? But if I put this on, oh, Shostakovich, now that's another story. Shostakovich liked to write for the film. It was the infancy of the film industry, and he took his cue from Prokofiev, who had written for the Eisenstein films. And so this was used in a film, but he didn't write it for a film. But it was used in, I think Stanley Kubrick used this in a film. So here's the waltz from the Jazz Suite number 2. like cool stuff? Oh boy, heartwarming. Some of you might know some of these tunes. Some of them are so famous and popular that the movie makers decided to incorporate them. They weren't written for the movie, they made the movie for it. I decided not to get a pianist in to do the music from Elvira Madigan, but have you seen that movie, Elvira Madigan? It's not a particularly good movie, but it uses the second movement of Mozart's 21st Piano Concerto as its score. So the music is magnificent. I don't really remember this movie very well, Stand By Me, but the music, it's a pretty good movie, but the music, the music. This next one, I'm going to demand a little more of your intellectual stamina because it's a compilation. Songs from Chicago. So I saw an ad in this morning's paper that it's the longest running American musical of all time. So it's reopening, they say it's reopening on Broadway in September. And I'm not even sure I think the story is that important. But the music and the dancing, the music and the dancing, the music and the dancing. I'm not going to dance for you, but we'll give you the music. Some of us don't have too much to let down. But the nature of the beast is that a lot of times music that was written for love and for this expression. Oh, Stuart's giving me this look talking to the mic, right? Otherwise he doesn't get it there. Yeah, because I don't know if the simulcast people get it unless I talk into the mic. Is that better? There we go. Sorry, simulcast people. My apologies. A lot of music that was written for fun, years later, people decided was serious stuff. And a lot of times, the music was written just because that's who was in the room. That's who was at the party. We used to have, when Savannah Symphony was a full-time orchestra, we had chamber music parties. And there would be 8 violinists, and 3 violists, and 3 or 4 cellists, and a couple pianists, a bass player, and we'd play repertoire according to who wanted to play right then. And then hopefully the repertoire didn't get too much more complicated as the punch bowl descended. But when a second violinist got tired of playing the cha-chas, then somebody took their place. So a few years back, we did a Schubert-Trout quintet. And that's written for a piano quartet plus bass, so one of each instrument. You go, why on earth did Schubert write for such a peculiar combination of instruments? Because that's who was there. So a lot of times they wrote it for themselves. And Beethoven, for example, would sell his music several times over to people who, they didn't have the internet, they didn't know. So. Anyway, so this next one was written by 2 members of what became the Mamas and the Papas. And one of the brilliant things I think about some of these arrangements is they take the vocal lines and they give them to us. Because if you play music that has all the vocals, a lot of times the whole orchestra plays an accompanying role. But this way it's integrated into the whole orchestra, so you'll enjoy California Dreamin'. Michael Jackson's probably one of the all-time success stories in terms of selling records. Like 350 million, something ridiculous like that. Unbelievable commercial success. Sometimes the marketplace is not a particularly good prognosticator, and sometimes it is. It's not completely consistent. Who would have thought, for example, that Shostakovich, with all the difficulties he had with his cultural commissars and being told what to write and what not to write, that would manage to overcome that is really quite something. The marketplace is sometimes behaves sort of like that too, where it tells people what to do, what not to do. Oh, you are this genre or that genre, and you sort of have to defy it if you're going to have artistic integrity. And to Michael Jackson's credit, he was also a dancer, and also an arranger, and a composer, and a singer, and he made it big when he was a little tiny tyke. In fact, you played a Jackson family thing in Vegas, didn't you? Yeah. So, oh my goodness. We don't have him to dance for us here, but his tunes are memorable. So, they're catchy too, I think. I think you could say they're catchy. When I thought of this category of music, because, you know, it's difficult. You do an all-string concert. I could have done like a Tchaikovsky serenade, and maybe we could have even done Elgar and Dvorak. But that would be asking a lot of you guys who've been cooped up. So we thought we'd make it a little bit lighter for you. I couldn't resist a little bit of Mozart if we're talking catchy tunes. Yeah, Mozart had to be in on that, but here's some catchy tunes. So anybody around my generation who's had children has had to hear this movie, The Little Mermaid. You didn't have to actually watch it, but you had to hear it. Because my daughter went through a videotape and a DVD, and now she still has it on Disney Channel. So anybody who has kids in their 30s, 20s, 30s, anywhere around that, you have heard this music more times than you can count. And the people at Disney, if nothing else, they are brilliant business people, because they knew you would have to listen to this again and again and again and again and again and again and some more. And so they came to the conclusion it's probably worth it to hire this guy Menken to write the music for them. Even if some other parts of it are though actually I kind of enjoyed Little Mermaid, that's one of the best. But the music, the music is killer. The music is absolute genius, off the charts. And so then, I mean, can you imagine if all those times you had to listen to Little Mermaid and I don't know, any of these ones, like Beauty and the Beast? I mean, can you imagine if instead it had been, It's a Small World? I mean, you would have really been upset with Disney. So here's Little Mermaid music, and it wears well. It wears very well. This Menken, class act. So that was one of the pieces that the movie achieved spectacular commercial success, and I think earned it. I just think it's wonderfully conceived. Here's a tune, just a single song, Rolling in the Deep. Came out about 10, 12 years ago, and it really achieved some unbelievable success. I think right now the video, the official Adele video on YouTube has like 1.5 billion views. That's fairly substantial. So I don't know, I like it a lot. I really like it. I liked it when it came out. I still like it. I think it wears well. But I'm not sure if, like 20 years from now, if it will be as important as what like Little Mermaid is now. Or 30 years from now. Let alone, you know, it's like one of the reasons I owe Beaufort a Beethoven 6 is because I want to do it for his 250th birthday. I wonder how many of us on our 250th birthday are going to have things that people celebrate about our lives. I love to confront kids who think they have the tiger by the tail with that one, work on a little Bach or Handel, and say, in 300 years, I wonder if anybody will ever heard of you. It's such a tough question for these little, imagine a little 7th grader going, huh? Anyway, so here's Rollin' in the Deep, and it's a really cool arrangement. It's a really cool song. You probably have heard it even if you don't recognize the name. Saying something controversial. But talk about gratuitous violence and sex. I guess because they could. But this HBO series, and they couldn't get through. They couldn't get through a whole episode without showing some women without their shirts on, and blood spurting out of the bodies. I mean, and I grew a little weary of it also because they would cover like 6 different stories in an hour until it was like little tiny snippets out of the life of this one and then a little tiny snippet out of the life of that one. And I felt like they weren't developing the characters as well. I mean, the whole benefit of a miniseries is that it's actually, 30 hours of programming. And they can really do some character development. I heard an interview with Tom Hanks where he's actually starting to prefer that venue, that delivery system, because they can have so much character development in a miniseries. But with Game of Thrones, and then people say, oh, well, Fred, you should read the book. It wasn't much better. Maybe a little bit, because it wasn't as vivid. You had to imagine it for yourself. But the one thing I will say, the music was really good. The music was really good. Memorable opening. So here's the opening to Game of Thrones. You guys are familiar with Tomasz Kocsis. You've met him, heard him play. He plays in an orchestra that actually ended up doing the soundtrack. Like in the 4th season, they took over the soundtrack. Really, really well played stuff. But it's just the theme from Game of Thrones. One more number for you. Leave out the piano, leave out the drums, and just want to. Microphone. I'll do that again. We have one more number for you. I'm going to leave out the piano. I'm going to leave out the drums. I can't hear the difference with it, but they can back there and with the headphones on, I guess. And online, so I beg your pardon. And I'm making the cameraman work extra here, moving around so much. Sorry. But I just think that this is so charming. There's this, I'm not going to try his last name, but this guy, Israel, Hawaiian guy, weighed about 500 pounds. Died of a heart attack, so I don't recommend it. But, oh my gosh, he came in. They said, you have 15 minutes in the recording studio. He picked up his ukulele. They set the levels. Took one take. Said, thank you very much. And his version of Over the Rainbow just steals your heart. Just steals your heart. So a friend of mine, a longtime music educator, now working for the music publishing house, running around getting people to buy method books all over the country. But he did this arrangement, Bob Phillips. And oh, he had it. He just had it. So thank you for you guys being here. And we're glad to be back on stage making some music. So here's Over the Rainbow. Oh, and it says in the music they're supposed to put their instrument down on the ukulele and then pick it back up. not just being